It is the Conservative Colonel Podcast with Harrison Daws, where one man stands against the rising tide of liberalism. This officer in the battle to preserve our nation is the Conservative Colonel.
Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue.
And here's Harrison Daws.
Welcome to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Daws. I guess it is time to introduce ourselves. We are doing the premiere episode of the Conservative Colonel Podcast. My name, of course, once again, is Harrison Daws. I hail from Waynes County, Mississippi. Born and bred. I love Mississippi, and I'm about tired of seeing what's happening to Mississippi. So I decided it was time to fight. And this is how I'm going to be doing it. I, of course, would like to encourage you to please go over and listen to us on Spreaker and, of course, YouTube. We have a if you want to see my face, I think I have a face for radio, so I wouldn't recommend it. But we do have a YouTube channel you can find on our Facebook. But of course, if you want to listen to us normally, I would recommend going to Spreaker. But kind of a bit about myself, I suppose, is I am a conservative, as the title suggests. I will say sometimes I probably tell people this a lot, that I'm a historian, so I kind of say I'm a Jeffersonian. And if you don't know, conservatism takes its roots from Jeffersonianism. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of words in this journey with us people. My pronunciation skills is not the best, as you can probably already tell. So don't leave. I promise you we'll have a fun and good ride, but that's just something that you're gonna have to get used to. But yeah, so it's they're basically the same thing in my opinion. Both believe in small government. Both believe in the government should get out of the way of the people and let them live our lives. The same things that a conservative believes, a Jeffersonian believes. I just feel like sometimes people take conservatism to these days, and as we all know, the rhinos just latch on to something to get elected. They just want the office, maybe the money that goes along with it, maybe the power. I don't understand it, to be honest, but they want it. So sometimes you'll see me describe myself as a Jeffersonian, but please let it be known it's the same thing as a conservative. Of course, it is named after Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers. But kind of going into a bit of more about myself, you'll never hear me describe myself as a Republican. Even though I mostly vote Republican, I just trick me once, shame on me. Trick me twice, or trick me once, shame on you. Trick me twice, shame on me. Ever since I got my first feeling for politics back when we first elected Senator Tate Reeves, or Senator Governor Tate Reeves, I'm a little less trusting of politicians these days. So I don't consider myself a Republican. I consider myself a person that fights for conservative values. And that's how I'll always describe myself because of the fact that anybody can say they're a Republican or in the Republican Party these days, but only a few of them actually fight for conservative values. And that's a darn shame. Conservative values are, I think, what this nation was built upon. And the fact of the matter is, I think it's what made our nation great. And it's just so sad that they just don't do anything. They don't do a single thing. I do believe, yeah, that was not working. Oh, that's joyful. Oh, it's joyful. That's joyful. Joyful. That's joyful. Well, that's that's going to be interesting later. I just noticed some of my software was acting up. So this is amazing, people. Oh, this is a great day. Well, at least I have my backup over here, what I use to film for YouTube. So I do have two sources of filming. I use what Spreaker has, and I'm using what some of you might realize is StreamYard. Luckily, they both record audio for me. So this episode won't get delayed. For those who don't know, I was originally going to come out last Tuesday with our first episode, but I got sick and I couldn't really talk well. I'm still not fully recovered, but I thought better now than never, so to speak. So it is what it is. That's joyful though. I'm gonna have to listen to that back. Oh, isn't that just great? Oh man, uh, this is just joyful. That's a great way to start the first episode. Uh, but I guess the Republicans of Mississippi are celebrating this Tuesday. Last Tuesday, they kept the state, so to speak. They fought the evil liberal Democrats to the nail. But here's something they won't tell you: is a lot of the people that won their elections aren't really conservatives. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So here we'll go through a couple of the election results. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to hit on a couple people that I truly do believe are either good conservatives or I'm going to call them out. Of course, our governor had a hard fought victory with Brandon Presley. So Tate Reeves won 51% of the vote and Presley won 47. About 41 or 410,000 people voted for our current governor. Get this, 374,000 voted for the Democrat. In Mississippi, isn't that strange? A state that should be the leader of conservative values in this union. 47% of the voting population that voted for governor voted for him. Isn't that strange? It strikes me as very strange. But then again, for those who don't know, we are a purple state. We have a couple of really, I can point to one person that really made us a purple state, and that would be our Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann, who is a Republican only by name. So Delbert is what you'll hear the term rhino thrown around by a couple of politicians. I like it, but I think that's an offense to rhinos. Delbert is simply a Democrat through and through. Some of the things he's going to be trying to put forth this next term cycle scares me, honestly. These next 4 years, conservatives in Mississippi, real conservatives in Mississippi, are going to have a fight on their hands to make sure that we keep Delbert in check. I honestly think that it is pretty scary that we have a Democrat in the most powerful position in the state of Mississippi, which is lieutenant governor. Me and y'all are going to have a great time talking about Delbert Hosemann in the future. I'm going to try to keep this episode a bit short and just talk about me, talk about the show, my hopes, but I want to talk about the election a bit, and a couple of the results that I've seen that matter towards me. But we will see. We will see. But yeah, it is interesting, I think, that Tate nearly lost. And I say nearly because he did put out a good percentage towards the end. And I think it's really only because of former President Trump. Trump gave an endorsement that was like a Hail Mary pass from Tate's election crew that were like just hoping and praying that it would win, because the debate did not go his way, in my opinion. Tate Reeves, no matter how you look at him, he's not a charismatic. He's not. I don't want to say this. He's not really a people person. He'd be one of those politicians that you focused on him for the fact that he's a good man, he's voting for conservative values and stuff like that. But he's not charismatic. You don't look at a interview from our governor, God bless him, and be like, yeah, no, that guy, whoo, that's a Ronald Reagan right there. No, you don't. But again, I'm not knocking our current governor. There will be time for that. But he's just not going to win a debate, in my opinion. A lot of people look for the charismatic guy, the guy yelling and pointing, kind of what I call the Donald Trump form of debate, where you're just louder than the other guy. But that, and I also think he won because, sadly, for some reason, people vote more by party than they do by people who actually practice your party's belief. Tate Reeves is not the worst Republican out there, but he's nowhere near what I would say is someone who fights for conservative values in the state of Mississippi. Mississippi should be a leader. No, not a leader. The leader in conservative values in the United States of America. We should be the people. We should be the Florida. I'll go ahead and say it. So, look, I like the Florida governor. The couple of things I've seen from him and researched about him, love him to death. I think he's fighting for conservative values in the state of Florida. We should be that leader. It shouldn't be Texas, Florida, Alabama, or whoever we want to throw in there. It should be the state of Mississippi. We are the reddest state in the union, or used to be the reddest state in the union. And we need to get back that title and lead. And I'm going to be honest. I'm an honest man. I won't lie to y'all. But Governor Reeves wasn't the strongest on COVID. He's not, as I said, a leader in conservative values, kind of like Florida. We need someone like that. And, again, hopefully Tate will be the anchor, so to speak. He's not going to let Delbert go full liberal for the state of Mississippi. Maybe he'll be kind of our shield. I hope he is. I hope he does. I hope he leads us to a phenomenal 4 years as governor. I'm hoping this is a new beginning. I don't know what his plans are after this. I hope he doesn't have any. I hope his goal is just to make Mississippi the best state it can be, because I'm one of those people who have a lot of Mississippi pride. I love my state. I want the best for my state. I think Mississippi is the best state in the union, even though, some statistics don't give us that much luxury. But I want us to be that. And I love Mississippi, and I want the best for Mississippi. And the best for Mississippi is, I'm going to be honest, conservative values. We're a conservative state. We're a farming state, an agricultural state, which reminds me real quick why that's just popped up in my head. Some of these people that won their reelection, I could not care much about. I'm not going to say their names because some of them, I just don't really personally like them. There's just something in my gut telling me not to like them. But maybe I'll come back with this with more research and we can have an episode on them and talk about them. But our Commissioner of Agriculture, Andy Gibson, won his re-election. Congratulations, sir. I am a farmer. We'll get back into me again towards the end of the episode. So I do want to say congratulations. I think Commissioner Andy is a conservative and he's a friend of farmers. And so, I kind of have a soft spot for him. And I'm happy he won his re-election, sir. So congratulations. Let's see here. Where else do I want to go? But let me tie the knot on Tate Reeves, and we'll jump a bit back into Delbert. Apologize for jumping around. I had a schedule lined up, but I'm kind of this is the first episode. I'm kind of just getting all this out of me for the first time. This has been built up for so long. I've been wanting to do this podcast for years and years, and I really since I was a freshman in college. And I've just been putting it off. And finally, and we'll get back into this later, this primary season, I felt a calling to do it. And finally, I just couldn't put it off no more. And here we are. But let me jump back into the tape. But, I'm a little on Governor Reeves right now. Again, he dropped the ball on so many things. The state flag, COVID again. And he just hasn't been the strongest conservative governor. He's always been following the other conservative governors, if that makes sense. He's never been a leader. And I guess that's, at least we got someone following him. But I think Mississippi is a true leader in conservative principles. And we should be the flagship, if you will, for conservative values in the United States of America. But yeah, going back to our lieutenant governor, we do have a lot of future fights there. Look, I'm in college currently. I got a long story there, but we'll talk about that another day. But I don't want no one else paying for my college. I have been very blessed in my tuition. I've had help from my family, but I don't believe anybody else should be paying for my college, if that makes sense. I heard, and we'll talk about the Right Side Radio program soon again. I heard, I think there, that our lovely Lieutenant Governor's wanting to pay for the first 2 years, maybe at like for example, J.C. Jones Junior College for those outside of the state. While we'll get into that towards the end. But it's scary that I think he talked about this before the election. So he hasn't even won re-election yet. And he's talking about some of the principles he's going to be throwing at us in the next 4 years. So I am deathly worried. And we don't have some of the conservative fighters we did in the Senate now. I think our only chance is hoping that not everybody follows Delbert and our lieutenant governor our governor stands up to him and tells him these are not conservative values. And we, the people of Mississippi, stay on top of him. I'll be staying on top of him with my show. And I know there's a couple other of conservative podcasts, news people, and just some citizens out there that are not going to let this slide and let this continue to happen. I think a lot of people have finally been woken up, but we don't have a Chris McDaniel anymore, let's say, in office fighting for conservative values. So that does worry me. And again, we'll probably have plenty of time to talk about this. This episode is going to be all over the place. I'm so sorry. But I think that gets to the next issue, of we got to start calling out fake Republicans, people who aren't conservatives, who just wanted the R by their name and wanted to win an election like a Delbert Hosemann. Come on, people. I know we're smarter than this, and I know the state of Mississippi wants conservative values. I know we do, and it's a darn shame that we have to fight for them so hard as we do in the state of Mississippi. It's weird. We need to get these rhinos out of office and focus on true conservative values. True conservative values. I guess that is kind of it. This is going to be also a shorter episode than normal. Normally, I'll probably talk for about an hour, and we'll kind of go from there. But today's episode is going to be a bit shorter because I was trying. I had to get a lot of pent up frustration out of there. That's why I probably attacked Delbert so much and Governor Reeves, but. I had a lot to say, if that makes sense, that didn't really flow well with any topic. But, of course, as news comes in the next week, I will be reporting on that, and we will have a much more structured show, I guess I should say, next week. So if that has bothered you this week, please know that that's not going to stay for long. I apologize. I'm known for jumping around topics. I even skipped my whole introduction I have a script on my computer, and I wrote out what I was going to talk about, and I completely skipped over the majority of the opening of the show and went straight into politics. I guess I was just eager to get to it. And there's a lot of reasons why. I think why a blue wave, quote unquote, didn't happen in the state of Mississippi. I think there's a possibility for it. Delpert's going to be running for governor more than likely in 4 years. I don't care what that R by his name says. He is a Democrat, and he will be our first Democratic governor since the early 2000s. And he will try to turn the state fully blue. And while lieutenant governor, I think, is the most powerful. Actually, I know it's in the Constitution, the most powerful position in the state of Mississippi. A lot of people look at a governor for leadership qualities and to lead the state. And he's going to be leading us to a more blue, liberal, Democrat state. He wants us to be just like California and New York. And I do think there's a possibility for that if we don't wake up as conservatives in the state of Mississippi. If we don't stand up, that's even more important. I'm not going to say who, but I already said I'm from Wayne County, so pick at that as what you will. There'll be time for naming names in future episodes. I'm just getting started. A certain senator ran for re-election. I might know this senator. He might be my senator, but maybe not. He ran unopposed. He ran unopposed and he won. No Republican primary. Nothing in the general election. He did not have a single challenger. And he's been so-so. He's not as bad as Delbert, but, well, actually, this senator is probably I need to probably go relook at his voting record before I make accusations, though. That's why I'm not saying his name. When I say something, I want you to know that I will have a lot of facts behind that, and I will send them to you if you really need it. But no one challenged him, and he just won election easily. We can't allow that to happen. We need to start challenging the fake conservatives. And we need to make sure we take the state back in the direction of conservatism. We need to get away from a moderate Republican, and even more, we need to get away from liberal ideology completely. The fact that we even talk about it scares me. But that's kind of why I'm doing a lot of this. I will give some credit where credit is due. Mr. Jack from the Right Side Radio program. Please go follow his podcast if you haven't already. Most of you probably know who he is. You probably came from him. He is kind of the one that started me down on this road. When he started his programming, kind of opened my eyes because, again, for I'll say about 2 years before the Right Side Radio program welcomed us back on the podcast world, or came to the podcast world from the radio world, I was sitting there, I was like, man, I've been wanting this for so long, a political podcast that focuses on national and Mississippi politics. And that was my dream. And I kept giving myself roadblocks, and then here's Jack, and he knocks it out of the park, everything I would ever wanted in the podcast. And so I kind of put it off again. I was like, well, Jack's got it. He's doing great. He still is doing great. But what really kind of sealed the deal for me, because again, I'm back and forth for more than 4 years, I would think, maybe 3. I kept going back and forth. The Right Side Radio came out. Some of our friends in Jones County, Buck Naked Truth, came out with one. And it just kept nagging me that I really, really wanted to do it. But, something was holding me back. And then I had the honor and privilege of helping out with Chris McDaniel's campaign for lieutenant governor during the primaries. I don't know if I'm supposed to be just telling that. I don't know if it's supposed to be a secret. I don't care. I don't know if it's rude to talk about it. I by no means do I represent his opinions or anything like that, or anybody else's. I represent my own and mine alone. But I like to brag about it because, in my town, we look up to Senator McDaniel. And he was probably, in my opinion, the best conservative we had in the state of Mississippi. And, I got to do my small part. I'm not going to say and sit here and lie to you and say I was a big part of it. No, I wasn't. I got to do my small part for my county, and I can't thank them enough for giving me that opportunity to do that for my county. And, I was very proud of my county on election day. I'll say that. You can go back on the Conservative Colonel's Facebook page. You could see it was originally for Wayne County, for Chris McDaniel for lieutenant governor. I don't hide it. It was kind of it was an inspirational moment. And I'm going to take something from the Right Side Radio, what Jack said. He compared Chris McDaniel to a modern day Barry Goldwater. And I'm currently reading Barry Goldwater's book on conservatism. And I will say, I do think Senator Chris McDaniel is a modern day Barry Goldwater. He didn't get the office. He didn't get that chance to fight. But I think he inspired a whole other generation of conservatives. And I hope that's my generation. I hope the men and women of my generation see that we have been lied to, and their liberalism is just trying to brainwash us into a victim mentality when you can pick yourself up by your boots and get a lot of work done. And that's how this country is supposed to run. So I think that was kind of my final straw. There's a famous quote. Let me see if I can get on my Facebook real. That was loud. There's a quote that I've been using on the Conservative Colonel podcast Facebook page that really spoke to me, and I wanted to repeat it because I think it's 100% true what he says here. Chris McDaniel once said, if I accomplish nothing else in my time in office, I hope that I'm successful in helping light a fire for liberty in Mississippi that will burn long after I'm gone. I believe that we can make it to happen together. And I do want to say, because he's a good Christian man, a good family man, and I respect him. and that's very rare. You can say that about a politician. And of course, I don't like to put anybody on a pedestal, and by no means am I putting him on a pedestal. But I will say you lit that fire in me, Senator and Jack. Y'all really did lead me into something that I can already tell I'm loving because I did not follow the script whatsoever. And I am just rambling and talking, which is what a podcast is, people. Um, even a political podcast where I'm going to be covering the news. So I will say that y'all have done that for me. I can't thank y'all enough. I think it's going to be a great journey, the Conservative Colonel podcast, and I can't wait to see what we do next. I'm looking forward to every Tuesday. A new episode will go up every Tuesday, and I can't wait to see the journey. But kind of switching off topics, I do want to thank Jack from the Right Side Radio for the logo, the intro, and the name, the Conservative Colonel podcast. So I'm going to tell them what he got that from because I don't want people to mistake it because I honor our veterans so much. I love our veterans, and I don't want to take any honor away from them. I'm not a real colonel. I did not serve in the military. I'm not a colonel. But my nickname in college, and I went to the University of Mississippi for a couple of years, was the Colonel. And that was because, spoiler alert, I was Colonel Reb for a couple of years at Ole Miss. I helped preserve that tradition up there, and I'm very proud of that. And so I was the Colonel. And so many people called me the Colonel. And that's why the logo for the Conservative Colonel podcast looks like a different interpretation, if you will, of Colonel Reb. That's because he is. That's my interpretation. And I can't thank Jack enough for the wonderful logo, the wonderful name, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm starting a couple businesses right now. And I was going to name one after probably the weirdest name I had in college, which was the Mississippi Dog. I train duck dogs. And so that's what I was going to call it, the Mississippi Dog Podcast, which does not scream a political news podcast whatsoever. So I want to thank Jack for talking me out of that. Oh gosh, that would have been so interesting. But he gave me this name, and he hit me with it, and like I think I told him I'd been Colonel Red before, but I don't think he knew that I was called the Colonel in college, and I had a license plate that said the Colonel or Colonel. But he hit me with the Conservative Colonel. I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I'm so happy I asked Jack for permission, or not permission, but for his advice. And I was pitching him the idea of the show and how I wanted it. And I'm so happy he saved me. Oh my gosh, Jack, we cannot thank you enough. So let's all thank Jack from the Right Side Radio program. Phenomenal guy. So Senator McDaniel, again, I want to thank y'all, and that gives you a bit more of a bit about me, I guess. So, yep. Conservative Colonel podcast will be has officially started today. I'm recording it the day of. Normally, I will record the Monday afternoon or Monday morning of the week, and then post it tomorrow. Today, I'm recording the day of because I'm still a bit sick. I felt a bit better today, thankfully. I did not yesterday. I was still coughing pretty bad yesterday, but luckily the good Lord has given me another chance to do the show. And I didn't have to push this off for another week. Thank goodness. Please leave a comment, rate us 5 stars, subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. And hopefully next week will be a bit more formal. I was a bit more laid back this week. I do like cutting jokes, so get ready for that. And again, my pronunciation skills is that of a second grader. That may be giving me a bit too much credit. But we're going to sit back, have a good time, talk about national and Mississippi politics, and really dive into conservatism and really fight for it. I'm sick and tired of these Republicans, and you can't see me if you're listening to the audio version of this, but I use quotations. I'm sick and tired of them taking my nation, taking the state I love, and turning it into something unrecognizable. I love my state. I love my country. I have a lot of state pride, and I'm not going to ever change that. I think Mississippi can be the leading principle or leading figure, let me rephrase, in conservative values in America, and we're going to fight for it. So make sure to tune in next week. We'll be covering the news next Tuesday. Let's see. I'll even give you a date. I'll be nice. Let me pull up my calendar. November 21st is when I see you guys again. 2 days before, or a day. Oh, yeah, no, 2 days before Thanksgiving. And I will see y'all then, and we will keep on going. There might be a smidge of a break in December. I know that's weird since we just started, but I'm a Christian. And so my family and I don't do a lot during the month of December after a certain point. But if that does happen, that was about to be bad. I will let you know on the Conservative Colonel Facebook page and YouTube page. And I'll see y'all then. But until then, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I will see you guys next Tuesday. And just go out there and fight for your values. Good night.